Hey everyone, my name is Zach Bowens, and I'm an instructor in the education department at the Greenwood Genetics Center. And as you may know, April 25th is National Genetics Day, and we're celebrating the whole month long. And I thought it would be interesting to kind of explore some of the myths that surround genetics, and more specifically, our favorite red-haired friends, gingers. Not only do redheads get a lot of grief about the color of their hair, they also carry a rich history of misunderstanding upon their frequently freckled shoulders. There's a lot of misinformation surrounding redheads, both historically and currently. For example, despite the fact that Achilles, Helen of Troy, and Aphrodite were all said to have had red hair, in Greek mythology, if you had red hair, you were believed to turn into a vampire after you pass. And in ancient Egypt, redheads were used as human sacrifices at the grave of the god Osiris. They were burned and their ashes scattered by winnowing fans to fertilize the fields. And if that's not enough, there have been reports that it's believed that redheads will go extinct sometime soon. Some of this misunderstanding about redheads may have to do with the fact that they're not really common, but they're also not extremely rare either. While some countries like Ireland and Scotland seem to be hosting perpetual Weasley family reunions, it's estimated that redheads make up only about 1 to 2% of the world's population. And they don't have red hair because they stole hellfire or were bitten by a werewolf as a baby. They get their coppery hue the same way we all get our coloration, from melanin. Now, hair color is a genetic trait, and it's associated with the melanocortin-1 receptor, or the MC1R gene, on our trusty 16th chromosome. But all of our red-haired friends have a mutation. The MC1R gene makes instructions for protein receptors located on our melanocytes, the special cells that produce melanin, which melanin, of course, is the substance that gives our eyes, hair, and skin its distinct color. Melanin comes in two flavors, eumelanin and phenomelanin. A person producing mostly eumelanin will have darker hair and skin and can easily take a wonderful tan and is better protected from the sun's UV rays. But if you're producing mostly phenomelanin, you're going to have reddish or blonde hair and fair skin that burns rather easily because it is not protected from the sun as people that produce eumelanin. That's why people with fair skin tend to have an increased risk of skin cancer. It's the MC1R gene that dictates what kind of melanin you get. If it's activated, you'll get more eumelanin and have a darker complexion. If receptors don't trigger, your cells will pump out the fair phenomelanin. Now, you may be wondering why humans would perpetuate a skin type that is so prone to sunburns. Well, it has to do with geography. People from more equatorial regions usually have darker hair and skin to protect them from the sun's harmful UV radiation, while fair skin and hair is more prevalent in the northern areas with lower levels of sunlight. The farther north you move, the more the selective pressure for darker pigmentation lessens, and the mutant MC1R genes are not selected against, so they can spread throughout a population. And then, hello Scotland. The successful spread of this gene may be because fair skin is much better at generating vitamin D, which could have given redheads an advantage in the perpetually cloudy north. But you've also heard that redheads are kind of babies when it comes to pain. Now, there is a little bit of truth to that. Some studies have shown that redheads are more sensitive to thermal pain than others, and on average require 20% more anesthesia for surgeries than their dark-haired counterparts. But more recent study in 2012 looked at 468 individuals and found that there was no significant difference between redheads and non-redheads in the amount of anesthesia required for surgery. Researchers aren't entirely sure what's going on here, but one hypothesis connects pain tolerance to the MC1R gene. Since the gene is responsible for the receptors of pigmenting producing hormones, it may also interact with similar hormones like endorphins, our body's natural painkillers. But what about this imminent extinction of redheads? Well, that's bogus. Yes, the mutation is a recessive trait, meaning that both parents have to have the allele or the gene variant to produce a redhead offspring. But that still means that, say, even if 4% of the population were redheads, about 30% of the population would have to have that gene, keeping the potential for future ginger generations alive. So rest assured that gingers are going to keep passing on their genes and supporting the sunscreen industry for a very long time.